Next up is our Docuworld version 6.9 product showcase. And with us today are Tobias Getz and Mirco Schöpf.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Steve. And I see, I hopefully you enjoyed your ice cream. You were really fast because when I wanted to get one, it was all gone. So, yeah, at least the vanilla ice cream. So, okay. So welcome to the product showcase here at the Docuworld 2016. My colleague, Mirco Schöpf, and me are very thrilled that we can show you the new version, Docuworld version 6.9. And in case you have taken part at the Docuworld last year, you will probably remember that we had a journey with Peter Sanders, and we had all the new features in the version 6.7 that time. We are now taking things even further with the version 6.9. Peter's engineering is now able to envision new processes in their organization, which are more secure, more flexible, and even more mobile than before. And when we mention mobility, this is certainly one of the highlights in this version 6.9. Many actions around documents can now be accomplished when you're on the go, in a seamless way, switching between PC, tablet, and smartphone. And we want to take you on a journey again and pass through a complete Peter's engineering project where we touch many document types which may occur during such a project. And Peter's engineering has won a project to build a roller coaster. And as we are here in Las Vegas, this roller coaster is for a theme park here in Las Vegas, probably for one of the casinos here. And maybe they built some slot machines into the trains, I don't know. All the project data has already been added to their ERP system, and Docuworld is configured to access this data. And as you probably know, Docuworld can populate select lists from external databases in order to make it easier for the users to index documents and to have the data in both systems aligned. Up until now, each select list was independent from each other. And with version 6.0 now, this has changed, and select lists have become more intelligent. There's a new feature which is called multi-column select lists, and they can span multiple columns of an external database and only propose relevant choices in select lists which are dependent on their fields. So this sounds maybe a little bit complicated, so we are going into an example. So Fred Winner, which is one of the salespersons there, wants to store the signed order from his document tray to the file cabinet utilizing these multi-column select lists. And we have now a store dialog, and this store dialog is configured in a way that the fields region, salesperson, and project are connected via multi-column select list. And when we now open one select list after the other, then we see that these select lists have a lot of entries. So the region, we have a lot of salespersons, and we have a lot of projects in there. And when Fred now chooses North America as a region, and the salesperson, now select list, has just 3 entries, and he can just choose the relevant salesperson for this region. And also the same applies for the project. Only projects for this salespersons are displayed. And the same works the other way around. So if Fred enters the project number first and then chooses the other select list, they just have 1 entry. Then he takes all the other index data for the document and stores the document to the file cabinet. And it's really easy for the users to make this data index entry really easy and give it a correct index data. So this is a first introduction to that. Now, going to the next step here. And I'm sure that you know the same situation as well as Peters Engineering does. New versions of business software like an ERP system are capable to generate documents as PDF and to export them into the file system. And they usually do not give you many options for exporting except to choose the directory on the file system. Thus, you may end up with having different document types in one directory. And Peters Engineering has now the requirement that they want to store documents in Docuware which originate from the ERP system and other software applications. And up to now, they needed to manually index and store the documents or touch each of the files and move them into a specific folder where Docuware Import picks them up. And with version 6.9, this manual work is a thing of the past. Let Docuware Import do this work now. We extended Docuware Import with a feature which you already know from Docuware Printer. It is now the ability to identify documents and to apply a given configuration to them. And in the easiest scenario, you can use file name or directory as identification criteria. So what we see here is the roller coaster project is proceeding, and likewise the project is generating new documents from different applications, which have begun to pile up in this folder. For one of these documents, we will now join Fred in setting up a document identification configuration. As a start, he opens the import configurations from within Docuware Import, and he creates a new configuration for outgoing orders, and he enters order out as a meaningful name here. In the second tab, he activates the automatic identification on top, which automatically enables the next tab, which is called identification. And this is exactly the same like a Docuware Printer. And when he changes to this tab, he has to choose a sample document, which is somewhere in the file system. Okay. So this is standard procedure, like you all know from Docuware Import. And we can now use the file name or the directory name on the right side, or we can use the document type, so purchase order, as the correct, as the identification. And even barcodes could be used.
Just a second.
Yeah, we need the purchase order.
Yeah, we need the purchase order.
Okay. So splitting is not needed, but indexing. So in indexing, you also know we just draw the areas and assign them to the fields. So we need the name, the company name. We then need the project number and the order date. And at the end, the document type is entered, and it's just also called order out. Yeah, and at the end, this configuration is saved and stored into the system and can now be used in Docuware Import for importing all these documents. So Fred creates a new job and monitors the folder with all these documents. So it's somewhere on the C drive, on the desktop, yeah. And he chooses automatic identification as the configuration name. And as soon as he saves the job, it's automatically started, and you see that the documents are imported into the system. And Docuware Import now automatically makes a decision which configuration is used for importing. And they can be used to store the documents in different file cabinets, in different document trays, and to index them differently. And the result can be seen this improved history So every document can be opened here, and we see this one is stored to document pool with the configuration roller coaster. Then we have 3 order out configurations, and we have some more, which is an environmental plan and another document at the end here. And in case you're not aware of that, Docuware import can even import documents when no user is logged into the system. So import does its job in the background as a Windows service. And only if you want to configure a job or you want to view the history, you need to log into the Docuware system. To sum it up, what we have new in Docuware import. So with version 6.9, Docuware import can now automatically identify documents in order to choose the correct configuration. In addition, the unattended handling of documents in the history was improved. So after the plans for the roller coaster have been finalized, several requests for proposals have been issued. Suppliers and construction firms have responded to them mostly via paper mail. And to get an overview on the offers and to compare them, Peggy Jenkins scans and stores them in Docuware. Yeah, and you know, Docuware scanner generates thumbnails while the scanning. And now we added a new functionality here, and Peggy really loves this. You can open a bigger preview of the document. And she can check now if the document is scanned correctly. And she can even make small changes, like rotating a document if it's scanned wrongly. Or she can delete a page, which we will not do. But what's also possible is to split documents into the several documents, just by clicking in between these pages. And finally, these orders are then stored to the Docuware system. And we will follow up on these documents a little bit later and just switch over to the next one. Yeah, with this new scan preview, users can now do quickly changes and immediately after the scanning process. Daily work such as splitting a pile of pages, rotating or even deleting pages is now more efficient and more user-friendly than before.
Nowadays, orders also come in as emails into the organization. And they usually do not, or maybe they do not end up in a central inbox where they can, for instance, be processed by Connect to Mail on the backend side. In our case, actually, Brian Ford gets directly the email sent, so this with the attached order. So he's the person receiving the email. And I just want to play through a scenario where Brian receives such an order. What will he do with it? Okay, what I want to tell you. I'm in the role of Brian Ford, and Brian has just received this email, which is an offer. It was sent directly to him. He's on the go because he's always traveling. He also has very limited access. He doesn't always carry his PC or he doesn't carry the PC. Let's say a laptop. But what he always has, he has his mobile phone with him. And what he wants to do is he actually wants to send this. He wants to send this this document to through Docuware into his organization. So it can be stored there centrally and it can be processed by maybe someone else. So he just opens the attachment and he uses the general share functionality of his mail app, and he just chooses copy to Docuware, and then Docuware Mobile comes up, and I can select the target where I want to store this document. So as you can see, I have two targets here. I have an inbox. I have a document pool. You can configure freely the targets which you want to see here. In fact, setting up the whole app, setting up the connection to Docuware is really easy, as you know it from paper scan app. So you just go to the web client and show the QR code in the web client, scan that with your app, and all the gory details of like the connection parameters, all this technical stuff is pretty much hidden. All you need to do is just enter a password and you're connected with the system. So in our example, I want to store this offer in a file cabinet, directly in the file cabinet. All I do then is I type a project number, so it can be found along with all the other project files in the Docuware system later on. What do we have? 2016-012. And I just hit upload. There you go. So now we have a store dialog. Thanks very much. Yeah, sometimes it's the small things which makes people happy. So 2016-012, that's the project number. And I hit upload.
Let's now change back to the headquarters of Peters Engineering. And we switch to Michael Genius. Michael Genius is the head of the construction department, and he wants to store some documentation to the Las Vegas project. And Michael is a fan of the Windows Explorer client and uses it for most of his tasks. And as we can see here, this is what we know from the Windows Explorer client. We see all the different tree views, and what we see also, we see several baskets or document trays in here. So this is something new. What also is new, Michael can now even tweak the view in this Windows Explorer client. By choosing Adapt View from the context menu, he can define which document trays he would like to see and also change the default tray. And in the same way, Michael can also choose which folder views to see in Windows Explorer client. Thus, he can hide views he's not very interested in, and just the one that he uses most is visible. And before he's now storing the documentation, Michael wants to get an overview of the available documents and browses through the different folders. So this is project 2016-012, and there we have the different documents in there. And when he now stores the documents into the project folder, we have integrated the viewer into the store dialog for the version 6.9. So when you now store the documents, automatically there comes up the document in the viewer and the store dialog at the same time. And you can use one-click indexing to index the document. So he can use the company. That takes a little bit of time as there's the text recognition done until he can use one-click indexing. And this has several pages, this document. It's a technical manual, so it's long. And he can now store the different documents. So first the technical manual, then the user manual, which is a little bit shorter. Okay. And then both manuals are stored in the system. Michael also wants to take a look at the current construction plan of the roller coaster, and again uses the Windows Explorer client for this task. So here's a file which contains the plan. And Peters Engineering uses a specialized application to construct the roller coaster layouts. Michael is able to open the file directly from the Windows Explorer client, from the folder view in the correct application. This is something that you all know because that's nothing new, but you can now view the plan even here in 3D. Peters Engineering also uses a roller coaster simulation software. And this is used to demonstrate customers how the roller coaster will look like in reality. And Windows Explorer Client has now the functionality to open any file in a different application, which you might know from the normal Windows Explorer. And it chooses the simulation software and just clicks OK. And in the simulation software, he can start the simulation. And yeah, let's enjoy a ride with this new roller coaster. Okay, make it a little bit faster so you can really enjoy it. So with this new version of the Windows Explorer client, we have really significantly improved the way you can work with that. All document trays are now available, and you can adapt the visible document trays and folder views. When storing, the store dialog, including the document viewer, supports you with one-click indexing. And on top, the new Open With functionality adds some more flexibility. Okay, let's change to the buying department and to the workplace of Frank Huber. Frank Huber has to access all of the offers in the task list that we have stored before. And he will start doing some formal checks on these offers. And of course, most of these offers are formally correct, and Frank would mostly need only the one approved decision. A second decision to reject the offer is rarely ever needed. So what we did here, we added the default decision. And in this case, it's the approval decision. The user can start working instantly without having to make a decision first. So it's automatically the most likely decision selected. And another new features are fields that are shown in read-only mode. So what we can see here is the entry date and the project number. This is just for information, and no one has to change anything there. So it's really just an information for the one who takes the task. And now Frank uses one-click indexing to enter the supplier and the offer amount. And some of the offers also contain standard components, such as steel girders or motors, which are ordered frequently. And Frank copies all these items with one-click indexing into a keyword field in here, which makes it really easy to copy all the data also into the Docuworld file cabinet. And at last, he confirms the task. Okay, so with this default decisions and the information in read-only fields, documents can be processed quicker. With keyword fields, it is now easier to add data to Docuworld. And something which I didn't show you because it's more technically, but all the ones that are working with integrations and working with web services will like that, because web services are now more flexible as they can return more than one values. Going back to Brian. Going back to Frank Huber, yeah. He got an email from Brian, which is the project lead. And Brian is waiting for an offer from Rapid Transport. You can see the email in here. And he wants to get notified if this offer comes in. And Frank wants to do him the favor and opens the reply. And he can now use a small functionality inside the web client, which is called Get the Link. And he can directly copy the link to the document and enter it into the email. Just paste the link into the email. So Brian, as the receiver, can then directly access the document without having to know more about that. Okay, so this copy link function is also available for result lists. in order to share them easily with colleagues. And together with the multi-column select list, which we have seen before, and new field types for date and time, and for decimal fields, these round up the most important features for the web client now. So let's not forget we are building a roller coaster. The project has evolved and the roller coaster is completely built up now. And before visitors of the theme park can now enjoy the attraction, the coaster needs to be accepted by the customer. And Peter Sanders, as the sales rep for this customer, is on site and inspects the roller coaster together with the customer. During this inspection, Peter creates a completion certificate. And at Peter's Engineering, this certificate is in electronic form and stored in Docuworld. And Peter uses a tablet to fill the form. So let's see if the air server likes me. Okay, so what can he do? So first he can use the new date fields in here. So just choosing the date, there comes up a small calendar, and you can just choose today's date and click on done. You can also enter the project number, and radio buttons like this. Are there open issues? Yes, there are some open issues. He can also add a description for something, and he can also, for documentation, he can add files now. And on tablets, the good thing is you can even take pictures or can attach pictures that you already have taken. So Peter has taken some pictures of some of the screws there, and maybe he also takes some pictures here. So let me take a picture of you. So one here, and another one on the other side, just for documentation. Okay, so add a description. So we have found some rusty screws. And we have also, what we also found, we found some interesting, interesting audience. And at the end, the customer and the sales rep have to sign the form, and this is also new. So first, Peter Sanders. That's beautiful. And also the customer can sign the form. And just when they hit submit, it is automatically submitted to the Docuworld system. Yeah, Docuworld Forms has been recently published with the last version and is now evolving quickly, as you can see here. With version 6.9, Docuworld Forms now supports date fields, freehand signatures fields, and can handle file attachments. Forms gains flexibility and can be used in a broader variety of situations and works even better on tablets. Yeah, and as soon as the form is stored in the file cabinet, a workflow is started, and the project lead, Brian Ford, is notified by email.
Brian could actually go through the document Toby just stored, go through all the attachments, browse through them in a very nice and smooth way, endlessly scroll through the pages, use pinch and zoom in a very nice way, navigate between the files so between the attachments, the images which Toby added, by left-right swiping. So a very natural user experience. That's what I want to show you. He can add an approval stamp on it. He can even add a comment. So I was actually wanted to add something like, I've replaced all the rusty bolts, and now I would confirm that all the work is done on the roller coaster side, which then would again continue the workflow, and it would go back to actually the sales rep who can follow up with the customer and follow up with the customer on the completion form again, and actually complete the whole project. So Docuworld Mobile has been available for a couple of weeks now. It's available for iOS, Android, Windows Phone. You need at least Docuworld 6.5 if you do not plan to use it with workflows. If you want to use it with workflows, you need 6.8. And it's really a great thing. Try it out, download it, it's free. And with this latest evolution of Docuworld Mobile, smartphones have actually become an even more vital part of the Docuworld ecosystem. All the major use cases are now covered, like searching, storing, working with lists and workflow tasks. They're all covered, they're all in there. Thus also extensive travelers like Brian Ford is one. He can take part in workflows. The workflows can continue even if he's not in the office, and he can access all the documents while he's on the go. So please download it, please try it out.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, next, I want to give you a summary of the new features we have covered so far in here. So Docuworld Import is now able to identify documents automatically and choose the matching configuration. With the new preview in Docuworld Scanner, you can judge a lot better if your scan is okay. Windows Explorer Client now also shows the document trace and gives you more configuration options. The new functions in Workflow Manager enable users to work more efficiently and allow better integrations. In addition, the web client was enhanced in many ways to improve daily work, just to mention the multi-column select lists and the new field types for date, time, and decimal. Attachments can now be added to Docuworld Form, and new controls like a freehand signature fields can be used. And Docuworld Mobile enables users to do even more with a smartphone than before. The main tasks related with documents such as scanning, storing, searching, and working with tasks can now be accomplished with this new app. Yeah, we are coming slowly to an end of the presentation, and I want to give you a sneak preview to some of the features which will be available in the next version of Docuworld, which will be published in fall of this year. Michael Berger has already mentioned some of these items in his presentation, but now you will see the first live demo here. But be aware, this is currently work in progress, so not everything will be exactly like what you see currently. So first is the new folder view. You already know folders from the Windows Explorer client, and we have seen them just minutes ago. And with the next version, folders will also be available in a web client. Folder views will give you the same user experience of navigating through a folder structure as you already know it, but without the need to install any additional software. So let's open the current project in the folder view and open a document from there. And of course, it will also be possible to store documents into these folders. This will be possible right from a document tray or even directly by dragging them from your desktop on the PC. A second big feature, which we will ship with the next version, is a new kind of workflow. And also Michael told you already about that. And this new kind of workflow can be initiated by any user without the need of deep configuration skills. We call them currently ad hoc workflows, and they can be started through the context menu out of any result list or even from these folder views. By choosing assign task, there comes up a small window, and Frank can now choose one or multiple users which the task should be assigned to. So he chooses, in this case, Peggy Jenkins. He also can give a name, and he can use different decisions. So by default, we have approve and reject, but sometimes you may only need one a read confirmation to just have one decision here. And Frank assigns the task, and this user which is assigned to this task now gets automatically an email notification and can directly open that task. So switch to Peggy Jenkins, open the Docuworld client again, and we will see that she will have one task in there. And Peggy's task looks exactly like a normal task from a regular workflow. It has just two decisions, approve and reject. And Peggy can now, approve the document and enter a comment, which then comes back to the first user when she has confirmed it. So this is the end of the sneak preview, and I hope you are also looking forward to this next version in fall with the new folder view and the ad hoc workflows which you have seen now live working here. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for spending the time with us. And have a great evening.